right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Education Chat. This is October 2021. So we're going to have an exciting topic, which is automate updates to web feature layer without scripting. Now, we have a subject matter expert here, Jian Lange. Jian Lange is the principal product manager of Esri product management team in Redlands, California. And she is responsible for various aspects of ArcGIS Spatial Analysis products, including the business planning, the roadmap, requirements, and management. So Jian's been with Esri for more than 26 years. So it's what a accomplishment. And yes, she will be the person that if you want to have great idea about the spatial statistics, spatial analysis, we have the right person here. Okay. So Jian, you can introduce more and I hand it over this session to you.
Okay, well, thanks Katharina and Joseph for having me today. It is my first time presenting at the Education Chat, but I am somewhat familiar with the higher education community. My husband is a professor of economics in one of the California state universities. I'm proud to say that I have successfully turned him into an ArcGIS user. So today I would like to show you an example of how to update a web feature layer automatically with a non-coding, non-scripting approach. So before I dig into deeper into the topic, here are some background information. So last year we released a new feature in ArcGIS Pro, which allows you to schedule any geoprocessing tool to run at a specific time. So I wrote a blog article to introduce this new feature. Since then, many users wrote to me and shared with me their use cases. And it turns out that one of the most common use cases is actually to schedule data updates, to be specifically to update a web feature layer that is hosted in ArcGIS Online, to update at a specific time, say every day at the end of the day when the new data is available. This makes a lot of sense to me because nowadays we share, mostly share information via the web, and a lot of this information gets updated regularly. So unless you're reading a real-time feed or have a layer being constantly updated by a field crew, it is critical to have a streamlined workflow to be able to update that web feature layer in an automatic manner. So which brings to my focus today is really I wanted to show or just walk through you with the steps how to automate that web feature layer update. So my scenario is that I have an online dashboard that shows California air quality data, which gets updated daily. And then this online dashboard is powered by a web feature layer. So it reads in a web feature layer. And that web feature layer, the source of the data is from EPA's AirNow website. So I have a model builder model, as you can see a little bit here, that drives the update behind the scene. So I was thinking that instead of for me to show just that scheduling feature in ArcGIS Pro, just that step, how to schedule that tool to run automatically in ArcGIS Pro. And I thought it would be more a more realistic scenario for you and your students if I were taking a holistic approach to show the complete workflow, starting from downloading a CSV file from that EPA AirNow website, and then geo-enable that CSV into a feature class, and then publish that feature class as a web feature layer in ArcGIS Online, and then configure a web map with that layer to have the right styles, configure the pop-ups, to have the preferred base maps, etc. And then create a dashboard, and then probably arrange different layout elements to read that feature layer. And then I will show how to create a quick model, model builder model tool to update that web feature layer. And in our final step, we'll show how to schedule that model tool to run using the scheduling feature in ArcGIS Pro. So I want to say that there are many ways to approach this, to update a web feature layer. Some people take the approach to have a Python script using the Python API that we provide, Esri make available, and then use that scripting approach. So the approach I'm showing today uses a basic ArcGIS out-of-the-box functionality. So there's no scripting, no coding involved. We are going to use quite a few ArcGIS products. So in ArcGIS Pro, we're going to use that ArcGIS Pro to geo-enable the CSV into a feature class, and then publish that feature class to ArcGIS Online as a feature layer. Then in ArcGIS Online, we use the map viewer to configure the web map. And then we'll use ArcGIS dashboards to create a dashboard that reads the feature layer. Then we go back to ArcGIS Pro and use Model Builder to create that model tool to update the feature layer, and then use the scheduling feature, which is out of box as well, to schedule that model tool to run. So that's pretty much the whole, all the steps that I'm going to show. So since in this demo, my web client is a dashboard. So by the way, it doesn't have to be a dashboard, it can be a story map, can be any web app that reads that web feature layer. So I choose dashboard, so I just want to give a few. I'm also relatively new to dashboards, but I really like it after I use it. So I give a few examples on why we use dashboards. So for those of you who are not completely or not yet familiar with ArcGIS dashboards, it is just a intuitive and interactive way to visualize your data all on one single screen. So all your information show on one single screen. It uses like maps, charts, and other easy to interpret elements to basically unlock hidden information in your data to simplify complex data sets. So oftentimes we also use dashboards to monitor real-time events, and these events get updated regularly. People who are viewing these dashboards, they check in from time to time and expecting to see the most updated information like field updates or COVID cases. Talking about COVID cases, I'm sure all of you are familiar with this iconic dashboard created by Johns Hopkins University. And this dashboard receives billions of viewings per day since the beginning of the pandemic. And actually, when I talked to my colleague Joseph here about this, and he forwarded me a link to this article, which on Bloomberg, which was published last week, on the rise of pandemic dashboard. And the author of this article basically advocates that every government should have a pandemic dashboard. One more fun example that I like to show is I found this Twitter post from President Biden. He tweeted this on September 14th when he visited California, and he discussed with our state officials about the wildfire responding effort. So if I were to zoom in to this photo he posted, and you can see that there's this ArcGIS Online dashboard, ArcGIS dashboard, that the state of California uses to monitor the wildfires. So what makes a effective dashboard? A good dashboard grabs your attention to where it's needed, because everything is on one single screen. It communicates information at a glance. And it makes it easy to spot what's most important by like smartly placing different elements and use different colors to draw your attention. And last, which is definitely not least, those dashboards we use to monitor real-time events, they need to be updated regularly in order to really be valuable. So actually, that's pretty much all the slides I have for today. So for the rest of the time, I'm just going to be brave and show some live demos. So in the first step, I thought I'd just show you the dashboard that I created for the purposes of this demo. So here I have a dashboard that shows the air quality data in California. To be more specific, it's showing the daily average PM 2.5. PM stands for particulate matter, and the PM 2.5 is this fine inhalable particle that can be harmful to our health. So I downloaded this data from EPA's AirNav website. So here on my dashboard, I have a map that shows the stations, the sites across California that collects this PM 2.5 information. So as I click on the point, I have the pop-up configured so I can actually see what's the PM 2.5 average on that particular site. So I also, on the dashboard, I have a list showing all the sites. And you can see that some of them has in white color, some of them in red. I did a little bit of research that, by the way, I'm by no means an expert in the in air quality science, but I just did a little bit background research, finding out that if the PM 2.5 is greater than 12, it is considered harmful. So I have a little bit smart built in my list so that when the PM 2.5 is greater than 12, show it in red. So it draws more attention to those sites. Okay. And then also I have a chart here shows the top 5 sites within my map extent that has the highest PM 2.5. So I can zoom in. There's some interactivity built in between my my different elements. So as I zoom in to an area, the list would reflect, and also the chart will reflect as well. Okay. The last, another element I want to show that there is a selector I built into this dashboard, which allows me to specify a range of the PM 2.5, and it shows on my map as well as on my list only those sites that meets the specified range of PM 2.5. Okay, so I can see the ones that has low values as well as the one has high values and in the middle, etc. So the last element I want to get your attention here is these. These are called indicators. So I have an indicator, since we're talking about update the layers. So I have an indicator here shows to me the data that's available in the data set. The latest date is actually, in this example here, is from September 29th. And then it was last updated. Those feature layer was last updated on September 30th. Okay, so so the next steps, in the next steps, I'm just going to show you how did I get here? How did I start from scratch and generate a dashboard like this? The first step is I go to EPA's website, and then in AirNow, they make all these data available, updated daily. So I choose the type of pollutant, the year of data I'm interested. For my demo, I'm interested in the state of California, and etc. And then I can just do get data, and then it will just download that CSV file. Okay, so when this is done, I will get a CSV file like this. And you can see that there's a column called date and with site ID, which we're interested in the site name, and then a specific, I think, let me see, they have the daily average number of PM25. That's our specific interest. Let me see here. This is the specific interested column to us. And then if we scroll all the way to the right, we can see that it has the latitude and longitude information we can later use to geo-enable this data. So we have the CSV file. It's located in a specific folder. So the next step, I go to my ArcGIS Pro here. I'm going to geo-enable that CSV file into a feature class. So I'm going to use analysis tools and go use the tool I'm going to use here is XY table to point. My input table would be that CSV file. And then I like to create it in this output feature class. Let's give it a name, air quality CA Agile chat, Agile demo. Okay, so our X field is longitude and Y field is latitude. And go ahead and run this tool. So now we have a feature class. Let's open the attribute table. Has about 36,000 records. The reason that we have so many records is because there are about, I think, 160 sites in across California state. But because we have daily data since the beginning of the year, so we have that many records. So for my purposes, I'm only interested in the most recent data. So I'm going to do one more step. I will export this data. And then output to the same geodatabase. I'm going to call it latest. And now I will do a selection, select where the date field. So in this case, I'm going to select only the most recent data. So just to prevent I'm doing any typing error, I'm going to paste this SQL statement. here. So it's going to be, so what I'm doing here, I'm going to explain it real quick. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm going to say the date, I want to select only the max date, which is the most recent date from my feature class table. So I'm going to say okay here. Oh, table is not found. So let me see, let's see here. This is the danger of doing live demo, make it more realistic, I hope. So there was some actual space here. So now I have the latest, the station that has the latest information as check. Now we have about 95 records. Now it's the latest date is October 3rd. Okay. So before I publish this as a web feature layer, since we're going to need to edit this web feature layer, I'm going to first enable the editor tracking. So let's go to my database. Let's refresh it so we can see here's our latest. Going to go properties. And then enable the editor tracking. So later we can see, we can get that specific time when it was last updated. Okay. Now I'm going to I'm ready to share this as a web feature layer. And obviously I am logged in to my ArcGIS Online. I'm connected to my ArcGIS Online organization here. So I'm going to say share as a web layer. I need some summary, edu chat, and tags. We want to share it as a feature layer, and I have a folder edu chat, so later on easier for me to find it. I can choose whom I want to share with. And let's configure, since I have a date in my field in my feature class, I want to say my time zone, specified time zone, local California time. And then let's go check, see what else we need to do. Oh, we need to make sure that this, we want to enable editing, allow people to edit. Let's see if that's already here. Enable editing. Okay, so with that, we're just going to go ahead and publish this data into ArcGIS Online.
Hey, Jian, this is Joseph. Yeah. While you're publishing that,
yeah.
Are you concerned about projections at this point? Do you want to comment on that? There was a comment in the chat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a great question, because we know that the base map used in ArcGIS Online's web locator, so that got many people concerned about when we all know that if the web locator is not the best projection to use with calculated distances and stuff. So right now I'm not so concerned, because I'm in my dashboard, I'm not doing so much analysis. And if you're using ArcGIS Online analysis tools, keep in mind that it's all the distance tools like buffer, they're doing geodesic distances. So that already takes the curve, the Earth's curvature into consideration. In addition, if you really are concerned about projection and you want to have your analysis use local projection instead of web locator, what you can do is set a projection for your layer in Pro, and when you publish it, although it is reprojected on the fly if your base map is web locator, but when it's doing analysis, it will use the source projection you specified for your feature before you publish it in ArcGIS Online. So hopefully that is a clear enough answer to that question.
Thank you.
Sure. So I have published that. So that should now I go to manage there. So now we're looking at ArcGIS Online. So I have my the layer, I just published it. I'm going to create a web map using the new map viewer. I don't know if any of you started using the new map viewer. I really like it, especially in this way when you configure the styles. So for my layer, I want to style my map based on the information that we're interested in, which is the daily mean PM 2.5 concentration. I would like to create a classify. Let's classify our data. Use quantile. So as you can see, the bigger the circles are, the higher the PM2.5 concentration is. I'm going to use the red color. So now I have the symbology that I like to use. I can choose a different base map. My favorite is the NOAA map. Obviously, there's a whole library that you can choose from. And let's check the information. So right now, if I click on the a point, by default, it shows all the information, all the fields in that in my feature layer. So for my purposes, I want to simplify this so people only see the relevant information. So to do that, we're going to use configure popup. So we're going to have a title. The title reads from, currently says the site name. It reads from my, the feature table. So to make it more meaningful, we will add site name as well as the county it's in. So you can see that's added. Currently, it shows the complete field list. What I wanted to do is probably let's add a text field. So here, since we're only interested in the PM2.5, so we can say, hey, PM2.5, the average is, now we can read from our feature, which is this one, and on this day. Again, since we have the date information. So now let's see, check it out. And then instead of showing the whole list, now we just say we don't want to show the list. Only when we click, we want to only see the name of the site, which county is in, and the PM average is this on this day. As you can see that it has many zeros after the decimal point. So the next thing we might want to do is to configure the field. So for this specific attribute, we would like to have only one decimal place. There, much better. So a quick map configuration. Say I'm happy with this. Now I can just save my map. Let's call it Agile demo. And then not being very creative here. And let's save it in the folder that we have for Agile chat. So now I saved map. So now we have the web map. My next step is to create the dashboard. So the new dashboard that released, it was in beta since last year. Its final release, I think it was just last month. I really like it. The really cool thing about the new dashboard is, if you haven't used it, is that it's the support for arcade, which opens up so many new possibilities. So I'm going to create a brand new dashboard, call it Edu Demo dashboard. Demo. Oh, did I? Okay. Here. Okay. Create the dashboard. Now we have a new empty dashboard. So the first thing is they by default it uses this white theme. Personally, I like the dark theme better. So it's a matter of taste. So I choose the dark theme. So I'm going to, the first element I will add is a map. So my dashboard needs a map. I'm just going to use the web map we just created. So for the web map, we want to have to be able to show pop-up, and I like it to be able to show the default extent, zoom in, zoom out, legend, pops, and etc. So there. Now we have a map on our dashboard. So next thing we want to have is that list. Remember, we have a list that shows all the sites that available in my map. So in the list, I'm going to use the layer, which is the air quality California Edu Demo latest, that web feature layer that we published. So this is by default is showing showing this site name. So I like to add the county as well. So choose from our field, available field. So here, so it shows now the site name as well as the county. So remember I had that smart built-in that if the PM25 is greater than 12, we want to show it in red, and otherwise use the default color. And that is available, possible to do only because I use a little bit of arcade in the advanced formatting. So I just want to quickly show you how that works. And this one, I really don't trust my typing skills as well as my memory skills. So I'm going to copy and paste it from here. So I'll explain it. So what we're doing here is we create, in my advanced formatting, I use arcade. I create a variable called color, and saying that if in my attribute from my layer, this PM25 attribute, if it's greater than 12, return this color, which is hex code for red. And then in our text color, I'm just going to use this variable that I defined called color. Okay, now with that, I close this. Now you can see these, I have a mix of white and red. The red color sites basically has PM25 greater than 12. So the purpose I'm showing the status here, it just show you with arcade, there's so much more that you can do. Okay, so that's our list, done with our list. And with dashboard, I can rearrange my element, move this to the right. Okay, maybe not so big. I want to have more real estate for my map. So next, let's create that bar chart that shows the top five sites that has the highest PM value, PM 2.5 values. So I'm going to add a serial chart and same layer and show the feature. And my category field will be my site name. And I would want to add a series would be my PM 2.5 concentration. And then since we want to show only the top 5, so limited maximum 5. And we want to sort it by the PM 2.5 concentration from top down. So that would be the highest 5. As we can do a little bit formatting, instead of vertical, I can have a horizontal chart, and I can change the color to red to match my symbology for the map. And I think that's our chart. Okay, and I think to make it more pleasing visually, I'm going to have the list at the bottom of the chart. By the way, we should have, I forgot to give the chart a name, title. So we can say top 5 sites with highest PM2.5. And then we can change the text, the font size, and the color. Here, if I go to a source, I can actually do some HTML formatting here, give a different color, for example. Again, I'm going to copy this. This is the HTML tag, it's the style. So I can put it here, say style, I give it the color of tomato color. So if I go here, now you can see. So these are the different things you can play with available in the dashboard elements. So now I have that.
John, this is quite clever. I don't use lists that much in my dashboards. Maybe I should. I thought the list would be cut off if it was too big for the dashboard, but it looks like from the scroll bar, you've got full access to the whole list, which is really quite good. Okay, thanks. Also, there was about when back 5 minutes ago or so, when you were, I think you were in Arcade, John asked, can you use Python in there? And maybe John, we might want to clarify if that I didn't phrase it. Yeah, instead of the Arcade, can you use Python in that step?
No, I think currently, as far as I know, Arcade is the one that supports that dashboard supports right now.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. At the end of the talk, I have one slide shows all the resources, and one of them is there are lots of nice blogs wrote by my colleagues introducing the Arcade for dashboards. They're probably worth a read if you're more interested in that. Okay, so we have our charts, we have our list and map. Oh, I want to do that selector so I can select a specified range of that PM2.5. So our selector works on either a side channel, a side panel, or a header. So I'm going to create a header. Where is a header here? So we'll just have something with the title of our dashboard, California PM2.5 daily average. We can have an icon, maybe this one, and then there we have our header. And then with the header, I can now add a number selector. Here we say PM specify PM 2.5 range. And then we want to have a slider. And then this comes from, and I would like to be able to show the reset. and it's going to be a range. And it comes from a field. We can either specify a predefined range, let's say from 1 to 100, or comes from a field of our feature layer, which is, we'll read it from the field, the daily mean PM2.5 concentration. So it reads the lowest number and to the highest number in that range. Okay. So we want to have interactivity built in. So when this changes, we want to be able to filter based on your specified change. Our layer will filter that only the sites shown that meets the range, as well as our list and our serial chart. So there we go. Let's give a quick test. Now you can see that works, and we have a reset, which allows us to reset. So the last thing I want to add, since our whole purpose is to talking about the update of the web layer, so we want to add that indicator, so later we can use to track when the layer was updated. So we'll add that indicator element as a feature, and then this part doesn't really matter. We'll just do 1. So in our indicator, our top text, let's say latest data available. And that comes from the date field in our feature layer, okay? And then we don't want to show this. And the next one we want to show is the last update. Last updated on. And remember, we turn on the editor tracking for our feature class. By doing that, it creates this created date, created user attribute. So we're going to show the created date. As you can see, I just ran it. So it shows it's last updated on 9/25. So every time this layer is updated, it will update that as well. So I think that's really ugly to have so big there. So I'm just going to move it on top of my map, make it a little smaller. And there, I have my dashboard created, quick and dirty one. My original one, I added some external content that shows the background of the dashboard, so it explained what PM2.5 is, etc. So yeah, when you have time, you can always add these additional elements. So now I have my dashboard. Let's just run it. I'm in the design mode here, so let me just go ahead and go to. So there's the dashboard we just created. And just go view dashboard.
Hey Jian, while you're there, there's a very quick question in here. Is somebody asked if can you just show the date but not the time? Is that possible to?
Yes, you can. You can configure. Remember, I show you how you can configure the field. Mm-hmm. I think you can configure the date field to show only the date, not the time.
So you actually configured the field itself.
So okay. I just leave it as is, the default. So let's say here, remember I configured the date, the field of that numerical field originally has 6 decimal places, and now it's only 1. Similarly, you can also configure the date field. Okay, so I have my dashboard and runs well. And then now what I want to do is how I can update that web feature layer periodically so the users who are viewing my dashboard always sees the latest information. So let's go back to our ArcGIS Pro. So what I want to do here is, since we want to, our goal is to schedule that tool to run automatically. So we want to create a model builder tool then later we can schedule that too. So for those of you who are not familiar with Model Builder, I'll try to do it slowly. So Model Builder can be accessed from the Analysis tab. So I go Model Builder and I create a brand new model. I can start adding tools onto my model. Another way to get started is that previously we run, if you remember, we geo-enabled the CSV using XY table to point, and I can just drag and drop that from history onto my model. So we want to first read, and let me just quickly up. So we want to read our CSV file and then use XY table to point and then generate our feature class. And then we want to export, let's specify our output geodatabase. And then we did this selection, get the latest date. And then we create our output, which is the air quality CA demo latest, okay? So we have that part. So we run this every time there's a new CSV file available. And then we need to update our web feature layer. To do that, what we do, the step we do is first we use a tool called delete rows. So I'm going to drag to my model. So we first empty our web feature layer, make it completely empty, and then append our newly created feature class to our existing web feature layer. And that completes the update of the web feature layer. So I show you how it works. So our input would be our web feature layer. So now I'm going to, this is connected to my ArcGIS Online organization. I go to my content, the Edu chat. I think that's what we published, the air quality CA Edu demo latest. So we're going to clean up, clear, use delete rows to clear our web feature layer, and then use append to append the updated feature class, which is our input data set, and then to the existing web feature layer, which is our target data set. So let's make sure everything's correct. And then we have to remember here, there's slight differences in the schema. So we want to use the field map to reconcile the field differences, okay? I think that is, I'm being really brave here to do everything live. So let's hope that that we don't have to fix anything. So let's just run the model real quick. The nice thing about Model Builder is that you can actually see which tool is running. Whatever is turning red is currently being run. And then its delete rows takes a few seconds longer.
So Jian, in this case, that you always have to download the CSV and have the same name all the time for the file name, right?
Yes. And that part, that's a great question. So this is taken care of outside of ArcGIS. So I know that EPA actually provide, in this case, they actually have a API that you can use to download that data. So you can automate that process outside of ArcGIS. So that file, EPA always names it the same name. So that file, so you have a folder, always gets every day the same file get dumped in that folder. And in this tool, you always read from the same folder. Correct, that's correct. Awesome. Okay, so it worked, no errors. So it's probably updated our file. Let's just double check. If I just remember that's the 9:25 a.m. was the last time we ran.
You have to refresh your.
Yeah, I was
gotcha.
just refreshing it. Seems like some things are slow on the machine today. If I present more often here it updated my time to 9:50. So basically, that's how you update a web feature layer using a model. Now we want to schedule this model tool to run every time. First, we have to make this model into a model tool. What it takes to make a model into a tool, we have to have some default parameters. So we're going to say this, the CSV is one of the default parameter, and maybe the web feature layer is another default parameters. And then let's save the model. Okay, let's see in our catalog pane. So if I go to my toolbox, I can see that I'm not being very good. Just call it a model. It's most appropriate, probably call it update, have a meaningful name. So don't learn from me on this one. So now I have a model tool. I can just start. As you can see, I can specify the CSV file, and I can specify which one, the URL for my web feature layer. Here, I can just run this model tool directly from here. And if you click here, you can see that I can also schedule it. Let me just save my project first. Before we see a little exclamation sign, because it indicates that, hey, your project is not saved. It's just a warning, give you a visual clue. So now I can go ahead and schedule this tool. Now here, my model tool, I can say, hey, how often do I want it to run? I can run it every minute or every hour. In my case, I will choose daily, and I can specify, it happens every day. I can specify at which time, say, begins on maybe.
This is in part why, Jian, you put your local time, because if you really wanted to be, you really wanted to know that it was Pacific time that you were got it. Very clever.
And also another thing is ArcGIS Online. I'm glad you bring this up. I learned it the hard way. ArcGIS Online by default shows UTC time. So it will actually convert my local time in my original feature class into UTC time. And then I was so confused why the data is always 1 day behind until I found out that was the reason. Okay, so here, it's pretty simple to schedule a tool. So now I schedule the tool. So if I go to my history, I can actually see the tool is scheduled here. And you can see that I have some previously scheduled tool, and some of them run successfully. Some may have some error. I can go ahead and then investigate that. And then I can always edit. So I say, change. Instead of running daily, I want to run it monthly now. Let's hope that with the COVID cases, maybe we don't have to run every year. And I'm still hoping. And then, so you can edit how frequent you run your model from this history pane. You can pause it. So let's say you know that the data won't be updated for a few days. In fact, EPA sometimes give that notice when sometimes their site is down or whatever. So you might pause it for a few days. You can delete it if it's no longer relevant, and you can run it immediately from here. So,
and Jian, this is really powerful. You've packed a lot in here, but it really shows the power of WebGIS and connected desktop pro connected to the web and dashboards. There's so much more. What about this? Dan is asking, do you need to have pro running now that you've got this thing scheduled? Does pro need to be actively engaged on your desktop to run it, or can you just set this up and it'll just run without you being inside pro?
Great question. You don't need to have the Pro started. If you're using a name user license, all you need to do is make sure that it's always logged in, that there's an option in Pro, and switch it on. So the Pro doesn't even need to be open. The algorithm behind the scene, basically, this adds an entry in your Windows task scheduler.
Oh, wow.
So this is so it's basically from everything after you schedule it, the Windows task scheduler kicks in. That's when that is being handled outside of Pro.
That's very cool.
All right. So just to conclude, so here to sum up all the steps, I download the CSV. We use the SY table to point to geo-enable the CSV to a feature class. And then we share it as a web layer. That's how we got the web layer. We configure the web map, and then we use dashboard, configure the dashboard. We create the data update model tool, and then schedule it in ArcGIS Pro. So I know there are a lot of steps, but I felt like oftentimes we have a specialty in a specific area. Like I could just talk about the model builder and the Pro, but I want to give you guys a more of a realistic scenario, what's all involved.
Well, these are educators, and they are very inquisitive and very good at what they do, and they're always wanting to push the boundaries and show students how these things can be connected. So I think you've done an exceptional job doing all of those things. Here's a follow-up question though, Jian, from one of our colleagues, Amy, who's saying, hey, do you, back on the scheduling, do you need to have your computer on so for the scheduler to actually work? Do you need to have does your own local computer need to be on for that scheduler to work?
Well, I'm using the scheduler available on my machine. It needs to be on, but it doesn't need to be logged in. But you can also schedule it using your server scheduler. If it's on a server machine, then you don't need to have your local machine.
Excellent, thanks. Okay, what about Stephen's question here a bit ago? When you're setting the scheduling, do you need to set a number of days that you want it to run, or can it just be, I want to run it every day until I say stop in 2 years or whatever?
Great question. Yes, you. I think I probably didn't mention it. When you set the setting, there's one option says end on this date. So you can specify the date if you know that you only need to run it for 3 months, or you don't set anything, it will just run forever until you decided to stop it.
Thank you.
And one more thing to add is that we made most of the things available in that settings, but if you know this is just add entry in Windows Scheduler, and if you're daring enough, you can go directly into Windows Task Scheduler, and there are way more options there you can choose. It will work like any Windows task, scheduled task.
Fascinating. Okay, Jian, Serena had to go to another presentation, but I'm still on here with you. And if you don't mind hanging out for a few moments, I'll relay some questions, although you're free to, of course, walk kind of backwards through some of those comments. Again, really appreciate the time here. And we had a great community of interested folks. Yeah, I love this. And Nicole, yes, we share all of these recordings on the chat hub site. So Ken Serena set up a hub site a year ago or so. We put all of the recordings there. Another good use of hub, that we've got all the resources just sitting in that hub site. Thanks for being brave, someone commented, Jian. Yeah, there's always a little bit of, oh gosh, we're all educators, right? We want this to work. But that was amazing. One of our colleagues is saying, do you prefer scheduling with Model Builder from Pro or a Python script? And also, what about an auto-published scheduled ArcGIS notebook? Interesting.
Great question. I personally don't have a preference. I think it's a tool is a tool. And I have different preferences when to use Python, when to use a model builder. But because the purpose of this talk is a non-scripting approach. So the audience I want to reach with this is that some people do not want to get involved in writing a script. It doesn't mean that you don't have an option to do things to automate your workflow. That's the point I want to make. But if you are comfortable with scripting, of course, there are lots of ways you can schedule this. And notebooks is another one. You can use Python API, ArcGIS API for Python to update that web feature layer. And then that's another way. And then you can schedule the notebook to run.
Okay. A couple of other things related to the CSV.
Yeah.
One, let's say it wasn't a CSV for some other data set. Could you actually use many of these same techniques to, for example, a GeoJSON file instead of a CSV? Okay.
Yeah. And then you can, ArcGIS Pro, you can read the GeoJSON. There's a tool reads GeoJSON to a feature class. And then just use that tool instead of XY table to point. And replace that tool with the tool that you need to read GeoJSON.
Thank you. Second question related to the CSV. I had this question too. One of our colleagues mentioned it as well. You need to, with this workflow, download the CSV every time, correct? That very first step when you go out to the EPA site and you did the...
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I show that because I have so many users saying that's their source of data. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They say, oh, all I have is a CSV. I downloaded it somewhere. So...
And, one of the things that this community, we all love is we want students and, fellow colleagues that we're trying to get interested into GIS to know where the data comes from. So I think that step in this case in particular is important, knowing, where does the EPA get the data? How often is it updated? What is their data quality standards and all that kind of stuff? Yeah. So having the students actually go to the source oftentimes is very instructive. Right, in developing those critical thinking skills. Excellent.
Yeah. You can use the WFS URL. Yes. Then you don't have to. Then that is what I meant earlier. It's a live feed. Then you don't have to do this manually.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Good points. Catherine's wondering about other data sources, and I would say I'm going to put it in the chat box. I have an ongoing data blog that stemmed from originally a Esri press book. And in that blog, I actually review on a biweekly basis data sources. And if it's a clunky portal, I'm not hesitant to say this is a clunky portal and there's probably better sites and I would advise not using this one. But so I'm very honest about that, having worked in those federal agencies that actually produced a lot of that data. There are pros and cons with any of these portals, but anyway, I'm going to put that in there, Catherine, about data sources that are sort of like this one that Jian guided us through that would be a good source for a lesson or a research project where you don't want to look at air quality data, but you want to look at water quality or something else, invasive species, et cetera. Yeah, good question.
I think there's a question about where's the recording. I think it's on the website, right? On the hub.
Yeah, it's on the hub site. Yes, Jing put it in there. That is exactly where this will be housed. And we will get this up there probably within 48 hours. I can pick on Kanserina. She had to go to another meeting, but she is spot on getting this thing up there. So not to worry, folks. And then you can share it with your colleagues.
Myself, especially.
I know we're always our own worst critics, aren't we? It's like, oh, I said too many times. No, this was very wonderful and clear. And again, really appreciate it. I know some folks have to probably go teach or go to meetings or something like that. But Jian, we want to be sensitive to your time too. So folks, you know, if there was something that and I'm just kind of scrolling through the last of the questions here, if we didn't answer, you know where to find us.
Yeah.
And we can relay those. You can email Joseph or Ken Serena. We can relay them to Jian. And this was wonderful. Gosh, I learned so much. I always do from these. So many, many thanks.
You're
Jian.
welcome. It was fun for me too.
Good. Well, it's an enthusiastic, innovative community of these GIS and higher education folks. You know, there's people on the admin side, there's people on the instructional side, there's people on the research side. There's occasionally students as well as faculty and admin folks. And occasionally we get some people in primary and secondary education on these things too, because they're using GIS in their own instruction in schools. So, and then there's people using, you know, that are instructors in the National Park Service or EPA or, you know, local government that have teaching as one of their primary responsibilities. So we do get other folks in here as well. Yes, I loved it too, Jing. Yeah, the holistic workflow. Awesome.
All right.
Great. Well, I'm going to stop the recording then. And again, thanks so much. And folks, keep up the good work out there. Continue having a good semester. I know there's lots of disruption, but really appreciate you all being here and for your continued geo awesomeness.